Okay.
Okay, we're recording.
All right, it is now 6 o'clock. We will go ahead and call the meeting to order. We will go ahead and begin with the Pledge of Allegiance. Jeannie, would you like to lead us?
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. All right, and Pastor, would you like to go ahead and invocation?
Absolutely. Today I'll be doing the invocation. I wanted to share something that we talked about recently at my church, and it's out of the book of Isaiah 62:6. It says, "On your walls, O Jerusalem, I've appointed watchmen all day and all night. They will never keep silent. You who remind the Lord, take no rest for yourselves." And it begins to talk about this concept of how we're all called to the walls of our city, right? The walls represent the commerce, the economy, the protection, and oftentimes business deals were handled at the walls. Like if the city didn't have walls, they didn't have protection, so there's no thing as law enforcement. So what God did back in Jerusalem was he assigned people to different spaces. And there were two ranks. There were the watchmen, there were the gatekeepers. The watchmen were supposed to tell the people what's approaching the city, the dangers, the things that could potentially harm us. And the gatekeepers were assigned to disallow or allow who gets to come into the city or what gets to come into the city. So as a commission, as a council, as citizens, as residents of San Bernardino, I believe we're coming back to a space where we're kind of pulling on those two offices of being a watchman and a gatekeeper. And our job isn't just to sit in, on these commissions, but it's actually to watch, to see, okay, what can potentially harm this city? Or what can potentially help this city? And set at the gate and make sure that we're really guarding what comes in and what's allowed in the city of San Bernardino. I wanted to share that because I just feel like that's another sense, a level of responsibility for where we're going. It's not this idea of only elected officials taking responsibility, but it's every citizen doing their job, watching and making sure we're controlling the gates.
Thank you for that.
Great.
Absolutely.
All right, we will go ahead and do the roll call. Commissioner Robertson,
Present.
Commissioner Simmons,
Present.
Commissioner Creel,
Present.
Commissioner Guzman,
Present.
Commissioner Walters.
Present.
We do have a quorum. It doesn't seem like we have any public comments.
No, there are none.
All right, we will move to the consent calendar. The approval of the draft minutes. Do we have move to approve?
No different.
Commissioner Creel, move to approve. We have a second.
Second by Robertson.
Seconded by Robertson. Item passes. Thank you. Oh, we vote to approve. Commissioner Robinson.
Yes.
Commissioner Simmons.
Yes.
Yes. Commissioner Creel.
Yes.
Commissioner Guzman. And Commissioner Walters. Thank you. All right. Presentations, there are none. Discussion items, there are none. Staff reports. All right, we will move into announcements. Do we have any announcements from Public Works?
They awarded the contract for $8.8 million to pave 21 streets. And I'm sure you saw the report on Channel 9. So that's a big deal for the city to award the contract.
Amen.
So that's a plus. So once we do that, then we're in the process of initiating the design contract for a pavement management plan. What a pavement management plan, we're gonna hire a consultant to evaluate every street in the city for pavement conditions and come up with a 7-year projection plan on how we can pave all the streets that have been deteriorating for all these years. So we're expecting to go to council in June to award the contract, and the work will be completed in March of 2025. And of course, it's gonna come up with the price tag and how much it's gonna cost to pave the entire city. Wow. So, 2 projects, good projects, but this is the beginning of bringing San Bernardino back.
Awesome.
Question.
Commissioner Creel?
The 8.1, that's
8.8 actually, yeah.
8 point, is that the streets that we're gonna pave down?
Now, 21 segments, yes,
When is that gonna start?
in May.
in May of this year?
Of this year, yeah.
Awesome.
Actually, the amazing thing is, we made it to Channel 9, LA station, came in here.
Wow.
And I guess there was a press release, and based on the press release by the PIO, the city manager's office, we made a dent in making sure that we bring the city back with our capital improvement project that we have. So I think this is a good start.
And those streets were posted, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah,
Yeah, I saw it.
Yeah, 21 segments.
Commissioner Guzman?
Repeat the source of the funding, please.
We have Measure S is one main source of funding. There is, I don't have the exact breakdown, but there is Measure S, there is probably local impact fees that were collected, but I will forward that information to you guys, so at least you'll have it. It's in the press release that was initiated with you.
Any other questions? Commissioner Emerson?
Congratulations, Azam. I do have a couple questions.
Sure.
For the repavement management project. Also, is there going to be engineering infrastructure when we talk about drainage? Because if we think about, if we do this pavement management and we still don't have the drainage, to withstand, our issues in the city, the whole, I know we didn't have a lot of rain this year, right?
Sure.
Are we looking at that as well? Because, if we spend 8.8 and we still don't have the infrastructure in place, a few years from now, we'll be in the same predicament, right?
That's an excellent question.
Yeah.
Part of the pavement management plan, it does not include the drainage. The drainage should have its own drainage master plan. And I will go back and look to see if we have funding for future master plan for drainage facilities in the city. Yes, the last couple of years, I think we've been hit hard with the amount of rain that fell, and especially at locations where this, I think, brought to my attention at Baseline and Waterman. That was one of the issues that we've been dealing with. But yes, in order to resolve these issues, then we need to develop a major master storm drain plan. But let me give you a heads up. Currently, we're working on design, and we're going to go to construction soon for Sierra Way storm drain from 30th all the way to 40th. Currently, that project is in design. And then on Mount Vernon, we have a separate design that we're working on, 21st south, maybe to Baseline or 16th. I'll get you the exact locations. Those will be new storm drain lines that will be installed to accommodate the surface flow coming in. So we're working on bits and pieces, but in order to address the overhaul the entire storm drain in the city, we need to come up with a plan just like the pavement management plan. The pavement management plan not only would be pavement, we're going to evaluate where we have uncompliant ADA sidewalks, ADA ramps, and we're going to do an inventory with all the crosswalks, all the signal heads. I mean, it's a very detailed, comprehensive plan. So hopefully we can start the NTP, notice to proceed in June, and complete the project in March of 2025. This is a top priority project for the City Council, and they gave us quite a few funding to fund the master plan for the payment. So,
Yeah, definitely, exciting.
yeah, it's exciting times. Exciting times.
All right, any other questions?
I think you just answered it, but, so that covers some of the handicap ramps?
The pavement management plan would evaluate all the ramps that is, we have close, believe it or not, in the city we have, when we evaluate PMP, the pavement management plan, we have 574 center line miles. Center mile miles. So every street north and south, and every street east and west. Part of that plan, yes.
I use it, and there's some intersections you have a ramp, then you get to the end, there's no ramp. It's sidewalk, it's this high,
Yeah.
and you have to go all the way in the street.
Yeah.
So I don't know why, why would they build one ramp and then there's no ramp to go to back, But I know they've been trying to improve it.
Yeah,
But this should help a lot.
yeah, it will.
That's all right.
One last question. What was, you said Sierra Way from what street to what?
30th to 40th.
30 to 40.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah.
questions? All right, thank you, Azam.
Oh, no,
All right, announcements from our PD. Thank you for joining us.
That's exactly. Come on, class.
Well, good evening. Good to see everybody. I do have a few things that I'd like to share. Right now, we're staffed, or budgeted rather, for 311 officers, and I'm proud to say that for the first time in almost 12 years, we're at 278 officers in the field. And that's with 14 that are in the academy for a total that are on payroll of 292. So we're just 20 below our budgeted number, and that's pretty exciting. Having that additional staffing will help us deliver better service. It will help improve response times even more, although our response times are doing remarkable. We've lowered response times 22% from where we were this time last year. And we've handled 12% more calls for service. So we're doing an outstanding job getting out there and delivering service in a more efficient way. Our homicides right now are at 5 for the year, and we're at 11 this time last year. So that's a 55% reduction at where we were at the same time last year. So we continue to do a good job at decreasing violence, which is, in my opinion, directly attributed to the proactive policing that we do on a regular basis, taking guns off the streets. I think we told you guys the stats before that in the last 2 years, we've recovered over 1,200 guns off the streets each consecutive year.
Awesome.
So violent crime is down 6%. Overall, we've had 775 felony arrests so far this year. Last year, there was 801. We've had 1,501 misdemeanor arrests so far this year, and last year at the same time there was 1,529. So far we've recovered 288 firearms, illegal firearms, off the streets, and last year at the same time we had only recovered 176. So we're on pace to exceed what we recovered last year in terms of illegal firearms. In community news, we are starting, and thanks to Captain Nelson and his team, we're starting a Citizens Academy. This has been by popular demand. We've had a lot of people reaching out to us asking us when we were going to reinitiate this program. It's one that allows community members to come to the department and learn what we do. We have almost a full curriculum of exposure to different aspects of the organization, so they can get information from our homicide department, from our narcotics teams, from various aspects of the department, so they can learn the inner workings of what we do and what each team and what each department does. So a lot of people are excited about that. That's going to start on April 11th at 6 p.m. And our Coffee with the Cop schedule is as follows. The next events are Tuesday, April 16th at 0900 hours at the following locations in the West End. It'll be at the home of Neighborly Services at 839 Mount Vernon Avenue. And on the north end, it'll be at Shannon Hills, as it always is. And the eastern end, it'll be at Burger Boys, which is at 3644 East Highland. And on the southern end, it'll be at Studio D, which is in the Chase Bank building on the 5th floor. One other small bit of news for me, I traveled to Sacramento last week to do some legislative lobbying, and it's a shame to have to say, but we're in a place in policing where we have to go now and fight for common sense legislation to try to help keep communities safe. I testified on 2 bills. One of them was Assembly Bill 3037, which was intended to reinstate the firearm enhancement penalty for folks who use a firearm in the commission of a crime. Now, if you don't understand what that means or are familiar with it, back in 2000, I believe it's 2021, the enhancement was changed through SB 81. And what that did is it took away the ability for a judge to have the discretion to impose an enhancement for a firearm-related crime if that enhancement would take the sentence over 20 years. Now, to put that in perspective, if someone does a carjacking, the carjacking alone has an exposure of 10 years. And this is just for example. Now, if a person uses a gun, just pulls the gun, it would get an automatic enhancement, or it used to have an automatic enhancement for the use of a firearm in the commission of a felony of another 10 years. So now that person would be exposed to 20 years. But now our legislators have decided that 20 years is too much for anybody to do in prison for no matter what it is they do. If the person actually pulled the gun and pulled the trigger, pulling the trigger, shooting someone, killing someone would give them exposure of 25 to life. But now the judges would have to, based on this new legislation, take away the gun enhancement because that additional enhancement would take the person over 20 years. So someone can shoot you in the face, and if it's going to be over 10 years, they take the gun part away. So we were trying to compel them that since we're in a world where everyone is in agreement that we should do something about gun violence, the most common sense thing to do would be to punish those who use gun to commit violence.
Yes.
But our legislators don't see it that way. They voted no. And because of that, it doesn't make it out of the Public Safety Committee, and if it doesn't make it out of the Public Safety Committee, it never makes it to the floor for a vote, so it's dead. The other thing I testified on was AB 2565, and let me go back. It's important to note that on this Public Safety Committee sits our local representative, Eloise Reyes, who voted no on this. So when she comes around and tells you that she's supportive of public safety, you can look her in her face like I will and tell her that that's not true, because she voted no on this. The other thing that I testified on was AB 2565. And this is to enhance our ability to hold people accountable who participate in illegal street racing or sideshows. And as you guys know, we have tons of those happening in our city, and they're happening all throughout Southern California. This particular bill proposed by Assemblyman Fong and aimed to allow officers to impound the vehicles of those who were actively participating or aiding and abetting. And aiding and abetting is defined as encouraging by way of active participation. For example, using a vehicle to block an intersection so that they could have the intersection cordoned off for their activity, or blocking the intersection so first responders can't get there. Well, people who do that to allow the show to go on would be subject to having their vehicles impounded for just, I think it was 6 months. They voted no on that. So again, these are common sense bills aimed to restore law and order in our community, hold people accountable who willfully break the law and commit crime, and we couldn't get support on these measures. So just want to give you guys that wonderful information.
But Reyes voted no on that too?
Yes, she did. So pay attention to people's voting records. It's accessible online. You can look up your legislators and see how they vote, because it's about what they do, not what they say when they come here to take pictures. And we have to hold people accountable for what's happening here in San Bernardino. We have a unique community, and our community is one that's very directly impacted by violence, by crime that specifically it adversely affects people that are in our socioeconomic status. So it's not fair for a legislator to leave San Bernardino, go to Sacramento, and vote the way they do in San Francisco. We're not San Francisco.
Right.
And we're not Sacramento. We're not some of the other places. This is a unique community and unique region, and certain things impact us right away. One of the other things I'll share with you is I've been lobbying Eloise to the point of almost harassment about the fact that AB 357, which was a bill that made it legal to loiter for the purposes of prostitution. Loiter for the purposes of prostitution, not commit prostitution, but loiter for the purposes thereof. So in other words, We all see what walks up and down our streets. You go down G Street any time of the day, it starts at 7 o'clock in the morning and goes all the way around the clock. Women scantily clad, almost naked,
Yes.
walking up and down the street. Well, we've been in business a long time. We kind of know what that represents. And so common sense and good police work used to allow us to go and approach that woman and do an investigation very easily and determine that she was intending to commit prostitution, thereby affecting an arrest, getting her off the streets, in many cases saving her, because a lot of them were being forced to be out there.
Yeah.
And the only way that we can save them from that direct pressure or coercion is to get her off the streets away from the pimp, who's usually a few blocks down watching.
Right.
Well, now, because of AB 357, it's illegal for us to make that approach because it's considered harassment. And so we can't approach them. We can't go and do a common sense investigation. Now we have to, for a misdemeanor crime, extend an exorbitant amount of resources. We have to do a full sting operation just for a misdemeanor citation, which makes no financial sense.
Right.
So the reason you see prostitution exploding on our streets, the reason you see the presence of prostitutes on our streets is because of the permissive ideology of some of our legislators. And, we fight. I fly up there, walk the halls of Sacramento Capitol, and, have them look me in the face and say, well, but what if they're being harassed by the police? Instead of, well, what if their life is being saved by the police?
Right.
So their view is one that's very pro-criminal, and I have no shame saying that out loud because it's the truth. They're very pro-criminal, and there's a balance that should be struck, but it's not right now. Right now, everything is way off the charts. So we need people in the community to understand that and to be involved and to let your voices be heard, because they're not listening to us. Okay?
Thank you.
Question.
Commissioner Green?
Chief, it's amazing that our stats are what they are. As handcuffed as you are, we've really gotten a better city, despite,
Yeah.
God forbid if they take these handcuffs off, what you could do. You're limited to, to obey the law, but God forbid if they ever uncuffed you. I was just thinking, do you know how many officers we've had since you've been chief added?
I seem
40,
to recall
50?
that when I got here, we were somewhere around the 240s or 250.
That's what we had on there, yeah.
Right.
Yeah, so we've hired quite a few.
People out there think that they can just pick up the phone and, let's order, 15 officers. They don't understand, the hiring process and how many you screen and how many, and when people realize the hiring process and you screen out the best of the best and what we got and what we've increased, praise you, Chief. Astronomical job.
Thank you.
Because, people think, well, we got funding for 311, but why can't we just pick up the phone and get, another 30? The number of people coming out of the county that are coming to us, thank you for you and your officers that are helping us get to the number. And when we get there, I pray that they'll budget more to help us out.
We need it.
Yep.
So thank you.
Thank you, Chief.
Commissioner Guzman?
Chief, this is very disconcerting. Thank you for bringing it to us, to our attention. We are citizens representing San Bernardino. We're not elected officials. You can have my commitment to try to shift the balance of power. I'm familiar with lobbying in Sacramento, and I'm sure you went direct. I'll ask for words about Eloise Reyes, because I think she's a trusted community member. I am surprised, shocked, that she voted this way, whereas her promise was San Bernardino's health. And I mean that in several ways. When that bill passed, this commission heard it. It was precisely last year. All of the neighbors that I know were not happy about the permissiveness that because I'm a citizen, I'm going to speak openly. Our governor put open protection for the wrong individuals. Bottom line is, you got my commitment to do some lobbying locally with our current elected officials. And thank you for going out there and doing your own bid, office to office. Those halls in Sacramento can be tiring. Thank you. Thank you.
One question. What's the frequency on the Citizens Academy? Like how often, how long? Will you
It's
guys
8
have
weeks.
them?
So this is the,
8 weeks, starting April 11th, every Thursday from 6 to 8.
correct.
As far as like cohorts.
So this is the first time we're bringing it back. It's been years. This is kind of a pilot program to see where we're going with it. The goal is to have one quarterly,
Yeah.
but it's a little bit of ways off. So once this one's done, we'll fine tune it, and we'll probably have another one within a couple of months after. We kind of capped this one around the 20 number, just to see where we're at with it, because this is kind of an experiment for us. So.
Okay. I want to put it out there, just next time you guys do it, to see if you guys would be willing to even use our location to do it. Because one thing that we run into in the community is, and you guys know, because we've been in a lot of the same rooms, like figuring out how to bridge this gap continuously. That's going to always be my message. Like, how can we make sure that we're creating a space to kind of bridge the gap between community and public safety agencies? So if you guys ever do it outside of the station, I'm even asking, I'm not even saying add to me, I'm asking you guys, allow me to host it so that way we can get some of the community members who may not be as comfortable coming into that setting, just to open their eyes to put them in the room.
Yeah. And you know, that's a great idea. And maybe certain parts of it could be, but
Yeah.
the main purpose of having it at the station is so that we can do a show and tell.
Yeah.
You know, a lot of it would involve station tours. A lot of it involves actually showing people equipment, showing people, you know, what the offices and the areas that the different divisions work in look like. You know, when we have dispatch, you know, give them a presentation. Well, now we can actually show them the dispatch center and see what a console looks like, and how each dispatcher is looking at 4 screens at one time and answering 3 different phones.
Yeah.
Seeing is believing.
Yeah.
And so that will be the only drawback to that.
Yeah.
But that doesn't mean that we can't look at, you know, ways that we can, you know, go outside. But I just want you to know that would be a little counterproductive for a lot of the program's, you know, purpose.
Because it's hands-on.
Because
And that makes sense.
I attended the last one, and it's so informative that the reason I attend these is for some of these people to just complain. They complain about the dispatch. You know, I called and the dispatch didn't answer me in 2 seconds. I could say, you know what? I saw it. You know, just visualize what the dispatcher has to do. And they just don't understand. And when I go to these, and I'm registered for the next one, that it's information that we can gather to communicate to the public, you know, what we are doing. And it's so, especially in our commission, because we get so many calls that say, you know, the PE aren't doing this, or, you know, why aren't they cleaning up the camps? It's part of, I believe it's part of our responsibility to educate the public on what we are doing and what we're limited that we can do. And it's critical because they badmouth the PD, not knowing that we can't do it.
Right.
They don't understand it. And I think it's critical for us to be, you know, you lobby in Sacramento for us. And thank you. I mean, sometimes it's a thankless job, but you know what? We appreciate it. A lot of people say, you know what, why does he keep going? He's gonna keep getting stuff, but you keep going, and thank God, because we don't want somebody to quit fighting for us. And you're fighting for our city, you're fighting for our state, and you know what, thank you, Chief, thank you.
Chief, I got a couple questions for you. Kind of piggybacking off what Commissioner Sims, for the Citizen Academy cohort, is there an application process, or you as chief and captains pick the cohort that's allowed for the academy, or what does that look like as
So-
far as?
The applications are on a first come, first served basis. We posted this one online for anyone that was interested in attending this academy. Like I said, going forward, we're gonna tweak it a little bit. We may be able to have a bigger pool, and obviously I'll make sure to talk about it at the commission here once we get closer to that date. But it's just a first come, first served basis. We're not trying to exclude anyone, with the exception of certain things that may block them from learning certain privileged information we're gonna talk about.
Yeah. No, because it could have been a perfect opportunity for commissioners to be a part of that, to actually see firsthand as we're part of this commission, right? I think that would have been a great opportunity for us to kind of see. I know we get the firsthand knowledge from you and Chief of the stats, what's going on, but I think that would have been a great opportunity for us as commissioners to be a
I'm
part of
actually, I'm
that.
actually working on something special for the commission.
Okay.
I don't want to forecast it until I can guarantee it, but what I want to do is have sort of a range date.
Okay.
Where I can take the commission out and expose you guys to some firearms training and some scenarios that will help you at least see a certain component of what we do and give you a little fun at the same time. Because we have an internal simulation machine that I think is really good to have people see and feel, and it's a non-threatening situation because it's not real gun, but it's video. You have scenarios being played out. You have suspects. You're the cop, and you have to react based on what the scenario tells. And so you get a feel of what it's like to have to make a decision split second under pressure when you could be threatened. And then that broadens perspective of, when you hear and see these things on the news and it's very slanted and one-sided, well, now it helps you understand, well, man, I remember what it was like when I was doing the scenario because I took a group of pastors through one time. Merciful, and they killed everybody. And a couple of these pastors were some that were, not too long ago protesting us. They killed everybody. And I'm like, oh, interesting. So it would be good. And I think, especially as commissioners, because we need your support, but we need your objective support. We need you to be well-informed, understanding, but, hold us accountable. But that accountability piece means, understand both sides, and that's how we have a strong commission, and that's how we build a strong department, because we don't, I'll tell you point blank, I don't want to pass. I want to be held accountable, but I also want people to understand what accountability means. Accountability doesn't mean, unreasonable in holding us to standards that don't exist anywhere on the planet. When you haven't walked in our shoes. So understanding both sides is really important, and I think that no one wants to get it right more than I do. But having folks who are supporting us understand what that entails is key to making those decisions and those judgments. So I'll set that up.
And the next question, Chief, I know you said you have 311 budgeted, 277 in the field, right?
278.
Yeah, 278. So question for you, I know we got the Explorer program, right, and then Academy. Out of these 277, how many are from the San Bernardino area currently on your staff? Because I know, and as you know, Chief, especially, because, a family from Mississippi, and, the cousin is the sheriff, right, of the town, right? So, and I know it's important to have individuals that's a part of the law enforcement from the city of San Bernardino, right? Because, us growing up with individuals in those neighborhoods, we have those great relationships. So that's the question that I have, Chief, or what does that look like?
So I can answer that question. What it looks like right now is this. There's about 20% of our entire staff that are from San Bernardino. And when I say from San Bernardino, that means they currently live in San Bernardino, they are from San Bernardino and maybe moved away, but they grew up here, and so they came back to work here because they have roots here. They have family who still lives in San Bernardino. Some have businesses here. They went to college in San Bernardino. They met and married their spouse in San Bernardino, but then they moved away because the spouse worked somewhere else. But their roots, 20% of our staff has roots in San Bernardino. Now, when you say we should have representation that's from San Bernardino, I couldn't agree with you more. But, that requires a lot of other components, that I'm not in control of, like us changing the narrative, which starts with community members, about their view of the police.
Yep.
It's a narrative that I'm fatigued in hearing. Well, you should have, representation from this demographic. Okay, so when are we going to stop teaching certain demographics to hate the police then?
Yep, amen.
It's kind of hard to recruit when, I have people who are taught and conditioned to believe that they're supposed to hate someone because of the uniform they wear. But then the same people wouldn't want to be hated because of the skin that they wear. So we have to do better, and that's not just on me, that's on us. The other thing is we have, agencies throughout the region that are all competing for the same resources. And so we've improved, but we've been challenged because we haven't been one of the highest paid agencies. We haven't had a city that has had the greatest reputation. And I have to point this out, not to throw stones at any body, but we all know that San Bernardino makes headlines for a lot of the wrong reasons a lot of times. And that plays into recruitment. When we're trying to recruit, whether it's for an executive position in public works or whether it's for a position in the police department, people Google. And they look to see what's going on in that city and what the reputation is of that city, and do they want to be a part of that. So there's a lot of things that play into our ability to attract any candidate, but then when you start trying to whittle it down to, okay, I just want candidates from this city, that's trying to thread a needle. That becomes even more difficult. Not to say that we don't try, because when we put our information out there, it's open for everybody. We take applicants from anywhere, and we're doing community events to the tune of last year. I think we did over 400, and I can tell you we're out there, and we end up seeing the same faces, and we don't see a whole lot of the faces that claim they should be a part of what we're doing. So we're there. We're showing up. Our doors are open, and I have the data to prove it. But we don't get people coming to meet us at the bridge. So
and that's a great point, Chief. And maybe next year a community event. Always, and I know we did this at Cal State with the polices, doing a plainclothes meeting, right? To understand, like, I'm the person, this is the uniform, this is not me, right? I'm a person just like you, right?
I don't know what else we can do. We go. I don't know how many more clothes we can take off. We're in basketball clothes, football clothes. We do, you name it. I mean, we very much are committed to trying to show the person behind the badge. And we do that in a variety of ways. We do that, with, we don't mind making fun of ourselves. We do things that are, self-deprecating so that we can show the human side. We play with kids. I have officers that, go out and do cartwheels with kids, in uniform, out of uniform. And we're working on some programs, though, to your point, to enhance that by developing sports camps. And the premise behind that is one of the most effective ways to reach youth is in ways that involve sports. And some of your fondest memories are of your coach, And so we have officers who are D1 wrestlers, football players, basketball players, a lot of former athletes. And using their skill set and using the things that they like to do and pairing them with kids who are trying to develop those skills, we think will be a phenomenal way to increase that exposure and that relationship. So we're doing it.
I got you.
You know, we just need more people to meet us when we're out there.
Any other questions?
The application is open, correct? I mean, anybody who wants to apply in San Bernardino, it's wide open. I mean, and you know, we hear it all the time.
This continues.
Well, why don't they, we're not stereotyping anything. You know what? If you want to be an officer in San Bernardino, just apply. And you know what? If you qualify,
This
you're in.
continues.
I don't care if you're polka dot, you're in. You know, and the great part is, because of what you just said, we ought to say thank you to every single officer in San Bernardino. Because you know what? They're taking a job that's tough, with not the best pay. And yet we're quick to criticize. They don't do this, or you know, or they're not doing this. You know, we ought to be thankful for each and every one of them.
Well, I appreciate it. I wish more people felt that way.
Any other questions? Thank you very much, Chief, and thank you for all that you do. Greatly appreciate you and your team.
Thank you.
All right, Chief?
Yes, thank you. Before I start, I can attest to what the chief said. What you've done with the police department in the time that I've been here, the time you've been here, has been amazing. You and your staff has been truly amazing. So I applaud you as well, and I'm sincere.
I appreciate the partnership. We go back ways.
It's a privilege to serve you. Just a couple quick updates. We just had a Tower 44 graduate this last couple of weeks.
Wow.
Our staffing, like the chief stated, it's on both sides of the fence. We have another tower right now in 41. And with those two towers, our staffing should be somewhere in the upper 90th percentile. So which would be the first time in a long time for the county as a whole. So 226, the Del Rosa station's coming along nicely. If you haven't seen it, I'll bring pictures next time. It is fully wrapped and the roof is on, and
Oh, wow.
we're in the drywall stages. So that's a big plus for us. The 227 station that will be going up there at Arrowhead Elementary, we go to the Board of Supervisors for approval for the land lease. And then from there, it'll go out to a very short RFP phase for design. And we're hoping to use the same type of design that we have at Station 226. And then the last but not least, we are in the preliminary stages of a land lease agreement. We found a piece of property with Cal State for our Station 225. It's in the infancy, but we do have a piece of property, and we are in the land lease stage to hopefully come up with a lease with them as well for a 9-year contract.
Wow,
So,
that's awesome.
yeah, so those are our small updates for the Your City Fire Department.
Awesome, thank you very
You're
much.
welcome.
All right, we'll go ahead and move to Commissioner announcements. Would you like to go ahead and start, Commissioner Robinson?
No announcements.
Commissioner Simmons?
I have two celebrations. Number one, both of them downtown. Public Works, you guys did it. You know, you turned all the lights back on. we wasn't in the dark, but the crowd. I got more. And then 2 weeks after, I'm like, no Jesus. You look to the right of the alley, and the lights are ripped out again. And I was like, we just complained about this, and you guys came out and did the job. And now, instead of it being just the lights out, you see all these red wires everywhere in the breezeway. And I want to say thank you to you guys, because it was like, I remember like the time frame was like probably like 2-3 weeks. And it happened. So now I guess I talked to some of the contractors that were out there, and I was like, hey guys, what can we do like to keep people from breaking in? And I was like, well, we put this cement up, and now where do homeless people get tools from? That's the other question.
It's unbelievable.
Wow.
Yeah, and the handholds actually on the poles you see downtown, those are resistance to hammers, to screwdrivers, whatever tools you use, they should be resistant. I have no clue how they're getting in through the handholds, but it is, you have the base of the pole, and then you have the handhold that you can access it. And for some reason, they're getting access inside the pole. But here's my plan. I don't know if you were at the council meeting 2 weeks ago. We got $250,000 of an efficiency energy community block grant in the amount of $250,000. That grant is only for solar lighting.
Amazing.
So what I'm going to do is I'm going to tackle downtown, and we're going to come up with a fixture, no wires, nothing. Just like the fixtures that I installed on E between Baseline and Highland.
Yes.
but not as ugly as those. I don't know if you've seen them. They're not pleasant, aesthetically pleasant. So those will have the bulb, and then they will have the solar panel on the base of the bulb itself, where the fixture is, and will be attached. Those I'm gonna start installing them in downtown, so we're in the process of getting vendors on board so they can bring the products so we can see what they offer us. Only 250. Each one of those fixtures costs about $2,000.
2,000?
2,000, yeah. So kind of limited, but if we go after this brand on an annual basis and get 250, I think we can accomplish a lot throughout the city.
Amazing. I mean, I thank you guys, but I'm like, dang, y'all just
Yep.
wasted y'all
Yep.
time because it was literally the next day.
Yeah.
One side of the alley is still on, but the other side of the alley is pitch black.
Yeah.
This is crazy. The second part of that is a shout out for our PD because the downtown area has, I mean, we haven't had any breakers. Now, I don't know if something else is going on that I don't have clearance for. But as it relates to a lot of the small businesses out there, a lot of people are like, hey man, we haven't had any situations, any riffraff, because we try to make sure that like we're going door to door. No windows have been busted out, which is amazing, because I think our neighbor, she replaced her window 3 times in 1.5 months, like in a 45-day period. And the last time they broke into her store, she didn't have the money to replace it. So it's literally that crazy out there. But for the last 30 days, I say it's been really quiet. And just to let you guys know, I'm just giving another shout out to PD and kind of / the sheriff station as well. Last month, or the month before that, Carrington, whenever I hit you up with one of the situations in the community, I received probably 5 calls about like just community members. Like, hey man, the police did this to me. And every single one of those times, I called either Carrington or I called Sheriff Dykes. And I was like, hey, this is what they're saying. But the benefit or the celebration out of that is every time I called, you guys answered and proved what you did was appropriate. So that way the community was like, hey, well, we was wrong. It wasn't law enforcement. So I was able to take back these real life testimonies because now I preach them. I'm like, you know what? Somebody came up to me and said that PD did this to him, put him in a headlock and gave him a nookie. And I'm like, okay. Obviously, that's not what happened. But then, reviewing body cam footage and being able to hear this is what happened in procedure, like to see like, hey, it's not them, it's us, is a different message now, because now we can bring everyone in and we're not speaking hypothetically. So thank you guys for always having an open door, because without that I wouldn't have proof. And now people know, well, we ain't gonna call Pastor BJ about that because he's gonna get the truth, especially if we're lying. So thank both departments for that. It's really been amazing.
Thank you.
The simulator that you were talking about, I guess I got a little pastor in me because I was privileged to go to the one in Ontario. And I think I have the record for, and I'll give you a quick scenario, please. We pull up in front of a liquor store. And you're sitting there, and a gentleman comes out with a gun, and you tell him to stop, you don't stop. And of course, I shoot him. And he is the owner of the store, chasing the crowd. I mean, and those are the things, the scenarios that our officers deal with every day. They got to make that split-second decision, and similar is great. I mean, the DA's got one, I think, in 2 months, we're going to go to that one. So I look forward to this, because it'll give you a brand-new appreciation for our officers. Because you know what? The criminal is not thinking twice. And unfortunately, our officers, due to the laws that our chief just went up to, got to think twice, and it puts our officers in jeopardy. It really does, So the other thing I want to talk about is I would like to see our commission get more active. And the more knowledge we have to educate the people that just want to talk and don't want to hear the truth, I think it's important. I go to the neighborhood associations, I go to Coffee with a Cop. I go to a lot of functions to educate these people that say, why aren't they moving the homeless? They don't have a clue that, Chief would like to move every single one of them, but we're handcuffed, I mean, we had an incident right now that I saw on next door. This lady said, well, 2 guys are putting up a tent. I watched them put them up. Well, guess what? That tent's been there for 2 days. And Ernie Luna's on it already. We found out that it is private property. He had to go look at the maps. He had to make sure they had a 602. And they're going to address it tomorrow. But, you just can't go and do, especially right now with our injunction, we got to be really careful. I mean, we need to end this injunction. If we do anything stupid in that injunction, takes, if we do something stupid, then the injunction's another 30 days. That's gonna cost our city probably 60 or 90 days to clean up that 30 days that we just made worse. So I think it's critical that our commission gets involved and educate. I mean, all this knowledge that we got today, it's good for us, but you know what? The public needs to hear it. They need to hear. And you know what? I'm not afraid to say, you know what? They need to know that Eloise Reyes voted against this. And you know what? And if you're gonna be on this commission and you're gonna support our police, you gotta put that out there. I really believe that. I'm not getting political, I'm just getting honest. This is our city, and we want our city to get better. We gotta back our chief. And I have full faith in our chief and the men that work with him, that he's gonna make our city better. Thank you.
All right. Commissioner Guzman?
No announcements, thanks.
Commissioner Walters?
No announcements really, just to ask them, they're gonna be doing the improvements at Nicholson Park pretty soon.
Okay, let me just spend 2 minutes. We're having a major problem at Nicholson Park with the homeless population at that location. As instructed by our legal team and city attorney, we have to approach this very, very carefully. We can't just go in and evict them. So we're gonna put notices 7 days in advance.
Yeah.
On the 7th day, we're gonna come in and put the fence. But before we do that, we have to have ambassadors from the housing department go out and follow the process that was established by our legal team. They want to videotape. We
Yeah.
need to put announcements in both English and Spanish, and then give them time to vacate the property. And if needed, we'll probably need PD involvement.
Because it seems like more tents coming up all the time.
I went to the site the other day, I was shocked what I saw.
Yeah.
All of them are on the west end of the park.
Yeah.
And there's cars, there's engines, I mean, you name it. I mean, it's just like, how are we going to build that project? It's an $8.5 million project. We can move in because of, again,
Because
the
of-
injunction and the issues that we have to deal with, so we don't get hit with additional lawsuits.
You
So-
got kids and families hanging in that park.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, it's,
So we kind of, it's on hold, not on hold, but we're developing a plan, careful plan, on
Amen.
how we mobilize to fence the park, to start construction.
Would you say that the injunction is interfering with appropriate plans to move forward?
Probably is, yes, probably is, yes. But if we follow that process and then we evict them, vacate the property, I think we'll be fine. Just follow the process so we can show it to the judge in case they come back and say, look what they did to them. No, we followed, they have to evict them. We have to vacate the property because we have to build a public improvement project for the city and the residents of the city. That's the bottom line.
Right.
So,
I'm just curious, because you said you need PD's help with the injunction. Are you guys able to help?
on that day, if we need to vacate them and there is resistance, we probably need a PD.
Yeah, one of the things that's a little overstated or maybe just not thoroughly explained about the injunction is that there's nothing in the injunction that prohibits us from doing law enforcement work. If someone's committing a crime or violating any sort of law, as long as that violation isn't exclusive to the condition of being homeless. So we can't go and say we want to kick them out just because they're homeless and they're in the park.
Right.
But if they're in their tent and they're using that and they're selling drugs out of it, game over. We can deal with the drug issue, we can go make an arrest. If they're doing any other crime that's outside of just the condition of being homeless, we can still do our job. The other thing that's important, and this was straight from the attorneys and case law, there's nothing in the injunction or there's nothing related to the condition of being homeless that should prohibit a city from going about its normal course of business any way, shape, or form. So we have a major infrastructure project and it happens to be taking place where they have their tenants. They need to go. because there's nothing that precludes us from being able to move forward with a multi-million-dollar project just because someone wants to put a tent up in the park. And I think that's where we need to have the fortitude to just do what we know is right, and instead of worrying about what's obvious. And obviously, someone's going to complain. That's just a
Yeah,
part of it,
definitely.
you know, but they can complain after they're out of the park. You know.
We have a question. Go ahead, just for us as a commission, is there something, besides putting into the agenda next time, is there something we can actively do? I mean, educating the public is one thing, but that's limited. What's her role in this?
At this point, I think it's because it's a public improvement project and we're following the steps outlined by the legal team. I think we should be fine by now. If we need help with you going out, I don't want you to go out and talk to the individuals on the side. Might not be, I don't want to say safe, but for the time being, I think we're in good shape. And then as long as we get PD on board on the 7 days, because we're going to give them 7 days. During that 7 days, the ambassadors from the housing department, they're going to go out and give them vouchers, hotel vouchers. So hopefully they will accept the vouchers and then they move on. You know, we'll encourage them. In the meantime, as you know, we have huge projects coming to the city. You've probably heard about the Navigation Center.
Yes.
That's 18 months out. We're doing groundbreaking on the facility at the Lutheran Services, the one on 13th and H, or Virginia and H is groundbreaking next week. This is a 34 million project. So we're moving in relocating them. Once these facilities are fully constructed, all the homeless population will dwindle and move them into these facilities to treat them, to give them, water, bed, showers, food, and so forth. So we'll lessen the impact of the homelessness in the city. And I think that's the key in making sure that we make the city safe for all users, basically. So for the time being, I think hold off on it, but I don't think we need any help during that process.
I would appreciate it if an item like this is somehow worded in the next agenda. I'm not sure if I need to.
You could email it to Susie.
Email
for
it to you, just
future
discussion,
feedback.
just for us to keep watch. I guess that's our role.
Yeah, that's
Keep
fine.
watch.
And what I can do is actually, once I know exactly how we're gonna proceed with the plan, I can come back and share it with you. You know, the step process, step 1, post the sign, step 2, give vouchers, step 3, and so forth, until we get to the 7th day, because we're gonna give them a 7-day notice, and then we'll engage PD during that process at the end if we need them.
Nicholson Park. right?
Nicholson Park, the one on
Second and Meridian.
Meridian. Exactly.
Okay.
Just final thing, I go down there and talk to the residents, the businesses who are there all the time. And they feel frustrated that they have no rights, that the homeless just took over their place. They can't go to the park, they can't even go to the store. And there's trash on the sidewalks and everything. And the whole area there, that area, I know the whole city needs help, but they need some special attention right there in that area. Because the people have been there many years, supposed to talk to the mobile home park manager and stuff.
Yeah.
And it's just getting out of hand, and there's a lot of people, they can't rent their properties and nothing because of all this problems, And everybody, I'm not saying ACLU or whatever, they all come up there for the homeless and everything and said, oh, they have a right to do this, that, and the other. But they don't have a right to violate people's property rights in the places where they can't take the kids to a park safely, So,
Only if they're on public property, then they, unfortunately, right now, if they're on public property, there's zero you can do.
Yeah.
And I address that all the time. I think the critical part, are you done? I'm sorry.
yeah, well, there's a huge tent city moved up by the Stater Brothers near my son's house, up on Highland by the Stater Brothers right there.
Off the freeway,
Yeah, and there's every day, they're far back away from it, And I really I don't know who owns the I think it's Caltrans, but they've been establishing the whole, if they have that there, they need to have some type of facility and toilets and stuff like that, and there's nothing there, you know, and it's just growing every day, that area right there.
Yeah, go to 7th and Waterman.
Yeah, yeah, I just drove
I
by.
was shocked, but.
Yeah, yeah.
Did you see the big tent on the road?
Oh, yeah. It's crazy.
Unbelievable.
By the
Cemetery.
cemetery,
Yeah.
the
Yep.
Jewish cemetery. yeah.
Yep.
All right, Commissioner Pruitt.
I think we gotta realize that what's happening at Nicholson, you know, people are gonna say, well, why can't we do that at Paris Hill? And why can't we do, those are two different things. What we're gonna do at Nicholson is complete, because the minute they see us do that, they're gonna say, well, why don't they go to Paris Hill and do the same thing? They're two separate issues, and we gotta address that, because people are gonna say, they did it there, why aren't they doing it at all our parks? Two different issues. And it's critical to understand that these homeless, they're in contact with the UC. What is it, AUCL?
Yes,
They're in contact. I mean, when you go, they're on the phone, they're calling, says, hey, the PD is here, they're trying to get me out. And the PD's got every right to go in there and see if there's drugs, see if there's a felon
And the
there.
homeless people pull out the papers, they
Yeah,
look, you have
yeah.
court order.
Yeah, yeah, and they are, and they're on the phone, believe it or not, the PD's not there a half an hour and somebody's calling them. And you know what? And I mean, I've seen the PD say, hey, you know what, we're just here to see if you want any resources. If you put your trash in a pile, we'll come by and pick it up. But yet, they don't want us there. But, you know, you gotta realize that these homeless people know the law, and they are using that law against us until we get this injunction. You know, I tell my people, and I keep saying this, the flood control and Caltrans, please don't call those people in, because you know what'll happen when they move them? Where do you think they're gonna go? In our city. And guess what? When they come in our city, we can't touch them. Just leave them in the canals, leave them on Caltrans until we get our injunction done. But right now, if we shoo them out of the canals and we shoo them out of Caltrans and they come to our city, it's gonna be worse. I mean, we got our hands full, once this injunction's done, we got our hands full to get in and clean it up, and we will. And I have all the faith in the world that we will get in and clean it up. But right now, we just gotta be real careful, you know, because we don't want this injunction to go another day, you know, and be on the safe side right now, you know, so.
All right, well, thank you, everyone. That concludes announcements. We don't have any items to be considered for future agendas, so we will need to adjourn the meeting. Do we have a motion to adjourn?
Motion.
Second.
Motion by Walters, seconded by Korea. All in favor, say aye. Awesome. The meeting adjourned at 7:02. Thank you.